And what's up, everybody? It's your boy John Vincent from Fatty's Funhouse.
Hey, it's Dave from 2mics 2djs.
What's going on, Dave?
What's going on, John? What's going on tonight, Big Daddy?
Well, we got something pretty special for everybody tonight. We got Mr. Chuck Kaye, the Roar of L'Amour from that famous nightclub in New York City back in the late 80s, early 80s.
80s to 90s.
80s to 90s, yeah.
They had a good 10-year run for sure.
They had a great run. So we got Chuck Kaye coming on with us, the Roar of L'Amour, in just a little bit. And, you know, a lot of things going on here at the Funhouse.
What's going on at the Funhouse? Tell me what's going on at the Funhouse, John.
Well, you know, we had a pretty good last week, pretty good broadcast. Had Mark and Joe from Omerta Cafe and Cigars.
Did you see those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. They were a riot, you know. I loved having them on. And, you know, they'll be back again. I think we rebooked for like mid-August.
Cool. That'll be a lot of fun.
And also, you know, my buddy Mezzy Shredder.
How's Mezzy doing?
He's doing actually phenomenal.
That's awesome.
You know, we've been playing a lot of his old guitar lessons on my YouTube channel and also my Instagram channel. And they've been doing phenomenal. Got a lot of positive feedback on them.
That's great.
And now Mezzy's kind of semi-retired from music, and he's writing children's songs now.
Is he really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's incredible.
Actually, I believe he just got a publishing deal, and one of them will be out. The first edition of it will be out in the next couple months.
Big Daddy, shout out to Mezzy.
So you can still see his full-form videos on Mezzy Shredder on YouTube.
Very cool.
And they'll be there for as long as he's here.
All right. Very cool. Well, you know what that means.
What's that?
Our next guest.
Our next guest, yes.
Held the line, turning Brooklyn water into heavy metal
Our next guest here at the Funhouse is a very interesting and unique person. From humble beginnings to becoming the Roar of L'Amour, Chuck Kaye became a pivotal person in the New York heavy metal scene and was involved with some historic events in metal music history. As the metal scene evolved from its infancy to become the good times we all remember and love, Chuck was the right guy at the right time, and through a combination of talent and luck, given the keys to the kingdom of what was to become the world-famous nightclub, L'Amour, the rock capital of Brooklyn. He helped bring legendary music acts such as Iron Maiden, Slayer, Megadeth, White Lion, Overkill, Cheap Trick, plus future legends Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Loudness, and many others to the big stage. And then he disappeared for almost 4 decades.
And now he's back, ladies and gentlemen. Except for a few rare appearances, Chuck has been out of the public eye, and we will find out why. We know living a rock and roll lifestyle took a toll on Chuck's health, and we will get an update to how he is doing and how you can help. Chuck created a website, www.theroaroflamour.com, to share his moments from his life, not realizing how strong the love is in the heavy metal music community. Chuck's been overwhelmed by how many wonderful people have reached out to share their love and support. And that's why we are here. We are here to bring his story to you in his voice. In fact, Dave, I understand that you may have been involved in some of the craziness that Chuck talks about.
Well, there was this one time that some of the guys from Megadeth met up with Chuck and some friends, including myself, in Staten Island at a bowling alley. But I will let him tell that one. Here he is, the Roar of L'Amour, Chuck Kaye.
Hey, Chuck, thanks for coming on with us, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. I've been looking forward to this for a few weeks.
Hey, I know there have been a lot of people looking for this story, and it shows us. Again, thank you. I'm very overwhelmed at this. This is pretty much where I wanted to go with this show. and I've
Of
been
course.
trying to do this for years.
Dude, I'm happy to be involved. Right off the bat, man, you guys have been awesome as far as promoting me and getting me interested in doing this. So I'm excited for this.
You know, Chuck, you and I know each other a long time, and there's a lot of attention coming your way lately. How do you feel about that? Are you surprised that people are interested in your story?
Yeah, I know some people are going to call bullshit on this, but if people look at this logically, they realize I'm right.
What do
I
you
am
mean?
very uncomfortable with all this attention. When I left the club in '88 and when I left the scene in '90, I never looked back. If I was somebody starving for nostalgia, I would have done this for the last 30 years, or at least the last 20, once MySpace got popular and this whole boom began. But you, Dave, are the reason that I am comfortable with all this.
Thank
When
you.
Dave, John, I don't even know if you know this, when Dave approached me to do this, he's like, "Hey man, I want to call, I want your number and talk to you about something." So I said, "Sure." And Dave began with telling me about this and goes, "You should be doing more on social media. You should be doing this. You should be doing podcasts." And Dave, if I say anything that's wrong, please straighten it out. And I told Dave, I said, I'm uncomfortable with all this. And Dave goes, "You know why? Because to you, it was your job. You did it good. You had fun." But he made me realize that the people who went to Lemoore identify me with some of the best times of their life. People, and actually, I met some of your friends the other day who met their wife and
Oh,
husband.
Tom and Star, they're great.
Yeah, and got married for being at Lemoore.
Exactly.
There are people who saw their favorite band there, or heard their favorite band for the first time because I played it. There were
Exactly.
people who looked up in the DJ booth and saw Rick Rubin and the Beastie Boys hanging out with me.
Right.
So it's less about me being on a pedestal, and I put it in a way that Dave understood. It's more that I'm the avatar for a lot of people's memories. In that spirit, I'm excited about doing things. As far as being the guy who did something 40 years ago, who gives a fucking shit? You know what I mean? That's how I feel. And I know John loves my catchphrase. I hate nostalgia, but I love fucking testimony. So that's what we're doing.
And it is testimony because, again, you did play indirectly and directly, because I know you touched my life because we worked together. You managed my band and whatnot.
Yeah. Well,
Even,
don't blame me for Fallon. Do not blame me for
no,
Fallon.
that was all my fault. I know everything's always my fault, Chuck. I get it.
Yeah.
But seriously, you were such a key piece that without you, like Tom and Star, they might not have ever met. You follow, and that changes a lot.
Yeah. And no, it makes me a little more comfortable with all of this. Like I said, it sounds weird because the last, I don't know, 8, 9 months, all I've been doing is looking backwards, but I'm doing it from a different position than somebody who's living in it era. Because if all of this mattered as much to me as it seems like it does, I would have been doing it for the last 20 years.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
There's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah, no, and the timing, I'm sure we'll get into it. The timing's right now when we can get into stuff going on and whatever it is. But, I know you guys are pros. You got a format. Where do you want to begin, guys?
Well, let's talk about you and who you are and exactly what is your contribution to rock and roll, because people hear your name, they hear the Royal Lemoore, they might not know exactly what's going on behind that.
Well, who am I? I'm a kid from Hell's Kitchen who, as an adult, lived in Staten Island, and I tripped into being a DJ, and then I wound up at the biggest club in the world for the type of music I was doing, which is hard rock and heavy metal. As far as my contribution, that's more somebody else to say than myself.
You were directly and indirectly involved with bringing some big talent.
Yeah, no, I get that, but
When
a guy by the name of Tony, I think Leclerc, his last name, he was in the band Big Bad Wolf. He actually posted something yesterday, and I think it's also in a book he's trying to get shopped around, that said I was like an unsung hero of the 80s because of all the bands I produced.
Exactly.
That meant the world to me. Do I feel that way? No.
I get it.
But if other people feel that way, fucking A, I'm cool with it.
And people do. That's the beautiful thing about all this is that, again, it's not your ego it's not about you. It's actually about something bigger than you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, if people like him who were at Lemoore all the time think if I made that impact on him, I
Right.
made that impact on others, that's their perspective and that fucking rocks. I don't go around saying I'm an unsung hero from the 80s. I was a very underpaid person from the 80s, but you know what I mean? But that thank you to the owners, for not letting me know how much I was worth until I quit. Yeah.
Well, you were probably, when you walked away from it all, you were probably like, I don't know, Lemoore's, you were the guy they came to see, you know what I mean? Aside
Well,
from fans.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, people have said that, and I know a lot of people that, stop going there regularly, but they might have anyway. Like, people associated me with the club and vice versa. So it was a really good fit. In the introduction that you guys played, which I liked, yeah, luck was part of it. I was the right guy at the right time in the right place.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had the impact I did at the Limelight in Manhattan
Right.
because the people there were there for the scene, SEEN. I was part of it, SCENE. And Lemoore had that. When I was at Lemoore East for 4 months before they moved me into Brooklyn. We'll probably get into that in a little bit. I got very known there. That's when the owners seen what I could do and asked me to take over Brooklyn instead. But I couldn't have been the Royal Lemoore East. The people there, they weren't looking for a community in the scene. They were looking for a nightclub to go hang out in.
It's funny you say that because every time I went to Lemoore East, I mean, it was a big room, it was a big club, but it was not the same as Brooklyn.
Well, the Lemoore East vibe was you went to see what band was playing there. And I'm not putting a DJ at Lemoore East.
No.
He actually became a friend of mine. That was in most every other club.
Right.
I know you guys are DJs, so we'll probably go back and forth on philosophies. There was something about the vibe in Lemoore, and I would put my money on that it had to do with the heavier music because that was more of a community because people bonded together. People bonding together over Motley Crue and Rat aren't the same as bonding over Slayer and Anthrax.
No, I agree.
And so that was a large part of that. And I think a big part of my success, and it was the reason they hired me, I was the conduit between the owners and the crowd. Because the owners were not metalheads. Only one of the four was really into the hard rock scene, and that was George.
Okay.
And that's not putting them down.
Right.
They opened Lemoore as a disco in '78. When disco died, George went, we got a building. Let's try something else. Let's try rock and roll. And they did. And they did cover bands. And then Johnny Z, not the owner John Z, John Zazula, brought in the original bands. I forgot who he brought in the first time. It might have been Anvil. And they were like, wow, this is something we can latch on to. And they looked at it smartly. This is a compliment, not a put down. They weren't getting in their Eldorados at 4:30 in the morning and putting Slayer on. I was.
They definitely weren't. I know the guys. I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, and so they were searching for the guy that could be the conduit between them and the fans. When I started at Lemoore, it was on my 22nd birthday. I was right the age that they wanted. Wow. And in turn, I think the kids saw me as the kids. Whoever went saw me as the conduit between them as patrons, the bands, the club, and the scene. So it was the right club, the right place. And it seemed for about a little over 4 years, I was the right guy.
Well, as from the fan side of it, because I've seen, the band side of it and the fan side of it.
Yeah.
I always saw you as approachable. People weren't afraid to come up and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they knew you. Let's say they knew you as well as anybody else. Like usually in a nightclub, they might know one or two of the bartenders, they might know one or two of the waitresses, but like you were so synonymous with that club for such a long time. And the synergy that came from that was amazing.
Well, thank you. I think that's, some people will say I'm not approachable and remind me to go back to that because I understand why completely. But I think there's a few reasons for that. When I got put in charge of being the guy who booked the bands, the local bands, I didn't book the nationals, but I was part of that booking committee, for let's say, for lack of a better word. A lot of the people in there were in other bands, so they had to go through me. So I had that connection. Also, I started getting on the radio. I started getting on MTV, VH1, magazines. So I was the name people knew when it came to the club. Then, because I did a lot of mic work, that was different than other DJs. Because, John's a little younger than us, right, John?
Couple years, yeah.
Okay. Dave would know DJs back then, and I was one of them when I began at the factory in Staten Island. We were the music in between bands.
Right.
Lamore wanted me to use my personality and do a lot more mic work to fill in the gap better. Because again, they came from the mindset of the disco where the DJ was important. The DJ, they didn't have live bands, or if they did, Gloria Gaynor came up and sang "I Will Survive," got paid 10 grand, and then she left. You know what I mean? And it was played over a fucking bed that the DJ probably played.
Yep.
So the DJ was who created the atmosphere. The club felt that that's what was missing. And when I came in, the mic stuff happened bit by bit, but it became, let's, make it, before avatars were known, let's create an avatar for it. And because of a lot of situations that just all happened to work, I became that. Now, the approachable part was a lot of people didn't think I was that approachable. And it's because you weren't allowed up in the booth unless I okayed you. And when I left the booth, I had so many other things going on. I wasn't just a DJ at the club.
Right.
I was booking bands, running. So if there was an issue, or I had to run to the front door, or sometimes I just had to go fucking take a piss. So I'm leaving the booth. I got 3 minutes. I got like 5 minutes to get to the bathroom and back before the next song. Or the band's on stage. I have to return phone calls. Because I'm working. I'm not up the front desk going, okay, you can play Thursday? Great. You can play Friday? Great. Now it's like, this band called 6 times. Call them back on your break. So sometimes I would have a bouncer walk me through the crowd because, if our capacity was 1,200, we were doing 3,500 in Lamar, you were there. So some people I wasn't approachable, but if you got to know me, I hung out with the bands afterwards, not just the famous bands. I hung out with Dave and his bands.
Yeah.
There's a picture of us after one of your gigs with AJ Perro, with drinking.
Picture you and Eddie Lights and my old guitar player, Will.
Yeah, and it was like, so once you broke the ground where I knew who you were, yeah, absolutely. I was one of you guys. But sometimes it took a bit to get that much, and so I get it. People are like, hey, man, I tried to talk to you, you blew me off. I didn't blow you off, man. I was going somewhere. It's easy to sit there and go, I'm going to wait for the DJ to come out of the booth. And then I come out of the booth and some guy goes to ask me a question. I wait for him off. I'm not saying I'm too big to talk to you. I am going somewhere. I was working in that club from 8 o'clock to 4:30.
Is that why Maddie was wearing that T-shirt that said, I got blown off by Chuck Kaye at Lamore?
Yeah. I met a girl online. Like, she was one of the first people that commented to me. And I asked her, I said, if she just talked about the club a lot and she didn't look familiar. So I asked her if I ever met her, and she goes, yeah, you blew me off. And then she created a T-shirt, Chuck Kaye blew me off at Lamore. And then about 4 or 5 other girls went, yeah, I'm getting the same T-shirt. And I'm like, that's great. And I'm just like, oh, this is fucking ridiculous. Now, instead of T-shirts being made, everybody's writing songs about me, including John over here. And that's
John wrote a good one.
blowing my mind.
And that one was a very late night. And
very spontaneous, right?
Yeah, the whole prompt of it just rolled.
Yeah, who knew I'd have John Vincent as a groupie? But look where we're at these days.
We're in.
Well, I'll tell you, the only thing that I really remember about any Lamore,
right,
one that opened up, I'm going to say it was early 2000s in Staten Island.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was there once. I took in an American Angel show,
right.
and that was it. And it was gone as soon as it opened.
Yeah, I did. They did a little more. It was called, I forgot the name of the club that it was called. It was a disco, and then Jimmy Gator, who I think Dave knows, Jimmy.
Yeah,
Jimmy was probably the longest tenured employee at all the Lamars, and we've become really good friends recently. Jimmy was a bouncer there, and he goes, "Look, you're dying. Go back to rock and roll. Let's do a Lamar reunion, and if it does good, we'll have something to jump off at." So they did a Lamar reunion. They contacted me to come in and do it. And again, nostalgia meant nothing to me. I said, I don't know. They were like, could we put you on the advertisements? I said, no. I said, that day I'll figure out whether I'm coming or not. I said, don't advertise, because, I had a life that was different, and I don't drive. So I would have had to go through all this. And I didn't show up, and people were really, really pissed. They thought I big timed them. It wasn't big time. I was just in a different direction in my life. Then about a year or so after that, Donnie Tranchina, who Dave knows, I don't know if John knows, he had the book, and he goes, "What is it going to take for you to do a night?" And he talked to George, and I said, "You know what? It's almost 25 years to the day I started. This was 2009." Wow. So he goes, "Let's do something on the 25th anniversary of you." So I did, and I went there in a limo because I had a past life that was paying pretty good, so I brought some people. And I did one night there, and that was the only thing I've done up until now, in all these years. And yeah, I think things like the Staten Island Lamar hurt the legacy of Lamar. I think we opened it in the 90s as half the club it used to be. And I don't mean half the club, my attitude. It was legitimately half the size of the club, because there was either a disco or a go-go bar on the other side. And I know you guys get touchy with go-go bars, so I'm not going to put it down.
Listen, I make a lot of money in this business.
And I get why they used the name Lamar, but I know bands that thought they were playing my version of Lamar, not that it was my club. And they went in and they're like, what are we playing? And I just think those things kind of hurt the legacy of Lamar, because CBGB's Cat Club didn't reopen or the Ritz didn't reopen as a bastardized version of themselves. I'm not slamming the owners. They had to do what they had to do. But I think that's what kind of hurts the legacy, and why people are so attached to my era, because that's the big era of Lamar.
Right. So how long were you actually active in the music scene?
Well, how I started, I don't know if you call it active, because like I wasn't hired by a club or anything, but when I was 17, 18, I started getting involved just in clubs and bands. And I used to work at a place called The Factory in Staten Island, which was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
While Lamar was still doing dance, and again, not a put down, but Lamar, 2001 Odyssey, Fountain Casino, all doing dance stuff. Factory was having heavy metal bands play.
Yeah.
Now I hate
I actually could walk to from my house.
Yeah. So I was playing Iron Maiden in '81. Now am I saying I created anything? I was the first? No. Who the fuck knows who's the first who played something?
Right.
But I don't know any other clubs that were having that you'd hear Prowler by Iron Maiden in 1980, 1981. I mean, the heaviest bands clubs were getting was Living After Midnight and Breaking the Law. So that was my first official job. And around that same time, I used to hang out as a record plant in New York, which is probably the second most famous recording studio ever. My cousin was Aerosmith's engineer, and he was working closely with Jack Douglas, the legendary producer from John Lennon and everybody. They would invite me in all the time. And because I lived in Staten Island, you guys know what that was like. If you didn't drive, getting back at 3 a.m. was hell. If I was out in the city, taking a ferry, all skittled out of your mind. For those who don't know, Skittles means Coke. That's the only time I'm going to say it. So I'd be in the city, and then 1 o'clock in the morning will come, and I'm like, call up the record plant. Who's there? Hey, Chuck, come by. I come by, Skittles everywhere. If they needed a beer run, I'm the 19-year-old kid they gave the money to run around the corner. Now, this is Times Square in 1980, 81.
Oh, it was a while.
Thank God I was pretty big, because around the corner meant I was stepping over winos, drug addicts, prostitutes, and and most of the prostitutes were guys, so I definitely wasn't going there. So I used to hang out in the record plant, so that kind of gave me it preambled me on that. I knew I had to get into the scene somehow. And the factory started me off DJing. The factory closed. I never wanted to be a DJ. I fell into it. When I quit, John, you've worked with actors, right, and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. You know, when you talk to an actor, how everybody's friends of the actor goes, "You're an actor, why aren't you on Law and Order?" Yeah, I never thought about that. I should just call them. All right. Everybody, when the factory closed, went, "Why aren't you working Lemoore?" I'll just tell them I'm starting Tuesday. There got to be a process involved. So I didn't think I fit Lemoore, because Lemoore was still doing dance music in between bands. It's a part of Lemoore legacy that people leave out. Bands would get off the stage and they'd play whatever. There was 2 DJs before me. One of them I'm friends with, that John's friends with, and the other guy was Mike Pace. Mike Pace was a disco DJ. He was on the money with disco. He knew a little bit about rock, but he'd play like, I don't know, Breaking the Law, into Moni Moni, into Rock the Casbah.
Right.
Okay. I like The Clash, even though I hate that song, but I like that vibe. It was different. I didn't know how to keep people dancing on the dance floor. That's the skill. I don't have that DJ skill. I don't know how to match beats. I don't care to match beats. I know how to program. I know how to spin. I know how to keep people interested. So when they first approached me, now by this time, my buddy Alex was working there, and for whatever reason,
shout out.
Shout out. They were looking for something else. So they asked me, and I said, "I can't spin dance music, man." And they were like, "Try it anyway." I tried it. And I don't know if you guys ever had this moment where everybody in the club stops and looks at you because you fucked up.
All the time.
I had that moment trying to spin, fix, one thing leads to another at Lemoore. This is how unplanned it was. I didn't even have the album. I borrowed the 45. So I couldn't even hold the 45.
Oh my God.
The mix was so bad. I know it didn't happen this way, but it felt like 2,000 people stopped, stared at me, and gave me the finger. That's how it felt. So I looked at George. George looked at me, and he goes, "You know, you had it up until that mix." I go, "Remember, I told you I didn't want to do this." So that ended. 3 or 4 months later, I walk in the club. George goes, "You know, we got rid of the dance music." I went, "I'm good." And I just kept walking. I had no desire to DJ. Then one night, I get a phone call from Sandy, the stage manager at Lemoore, and he goes, "George said to call him." I go, "Uh-oh." He found out I had a bunch of Skittles backstage the other night. He goes, "No, but he might bring that up. Lemoore needs a DJ tomorrow." I go, "Tell him I don't want to do it." He goes, "You tell him." I call up George, and George goes, "You need a DJ tomorrow." I said, "Buddy," he goes, "You know, we let you in free. And whatever the hell you do backstage, we don't say nothing." Now I'm going. I know his name's George Parente. He has a vowel in his name.
Right.
He runs a 3,000-person nightclub in Bensonhurst. I don't know exactly what level of vowel I'm dealing with, right? So I'm like, all right, let me say yeah, and I'll get out of it by letting him know I don't have a car. Brilliant idea.
Okay.
George, I mean, I'd love to, but I don't drive in the clubs in Queens. Where do you live? Now I'm thinking, all right, he's in Brooklyn. No way he's coming. Oh, I got it. I go, I'm all the way in Staten Island. Me too. I'm like, so he goes, "Where do you live?" I go, "Elderville." "I'm in Huguenot. You're on the way." So now I'm getting driven by a guy I don't want to work for to a club I don't want to work at, because I'm afraid to tell him no. And yes, I kind of owed them because of all the free beer, all the Skittles allowance that they let me have, and all the free admission. And from that, we got to know each other, became friends, and he realized not just the DJ skills, which kind of happened at the club because you learn as you go when you begin.
Right.
He understood that I knew the bands probably as good or better than anybody that they knew. And he started asking me business questions. I had no idea why. I thought we were passing time. He was seeing if I could be that guy. He
Right.
never, we never talked about why other people didn't work the way I did. He was good about that. He wasn't there to badmouth people. He
Right.
was just seeing if I was the right guy to fit. A lot of people don't know this, and I can't get into the weeds with it because of the whole Val thing. But in October of '84, the owners of Lemoore left Lemoore East. People still think they owned Lemoore East. They didn't after October 20th.
I remember when that happened.
Yeah. So George, we were out to eat at the Golden Dove in Staten Island.
I know it well.
Yeah. So we're out to eat there, and George goes, "Don't tell anybody, but we're leaving East." And I go, "All right, that's cool. I mean, it was fun while it lasted." And he goes, "No, you're coming to Brooklyn." I go, "I don't want to go to Brooklyn." And he took it so personally and I get it. What do you mean you don't want to go to Brooklyn? Right?
I drive you in every day. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, yeah. And I'm like, all right, but how about if we do this and we do this instead? And he goes, "Good, I'm glad you're saying that because me and my brother want this and that to change." We were on the same page. So I'm like, you know what? All of this makes sense. Let's do it. And that's kind of how I began at the club. And within like a few weeks, they had me in booking meetings and owning meetings. And I can tell you a funny story about meeting my tramp if you want at an owner meeting. Should I tell it?
Sure. We'll see if we're going to mention Mike Tramp. Who gave you the nickname the Roar of Lemoore?
My tramp.
There you go.
Go talk about ruining my fucking story.
Yeah, well, no, I want you to tell me your story, and then we'll get into how he gave you that.
Okay. So what happened was I'm in my first owner meeting. It's at George's house. Now, I'm not an owner. There are things they got to discuss that I'm not allowed to hear. I get that. But they came and picked me up and brought me to the house. So we're sitting there. After 15 minutes of talking about bands, they had another hour meeting left. And it's like, all right, great. All right, we're going to book this band, not book this band, use this, open up, blah, 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 blah. All right, go find something to do for the next hour. I'm like, and you cannot? What the fuck you got in your house? It's November. I can't even, it's not a pool or anything. So George goes, go in the basement and play with Tramp. I go in the basement and play with Tramp. He goes, yeah, Mike Tramp's in the basement. Mike was staying at George's house.
You remember that?
George and Mike were managing him at this point, and Mike's from Denmark.
Yeah.
And it's not like he came here and was working an accounting job. Everything was music. So they're like, just sit with an acoustic guitar. I got nowhere to live. You're in my basement. Okay. Now, Mike and I talked about this the other night. I don't know when this is airing, but I saw Mike Tramp for the first time in 38 years on Friday. So I go downstairs, and Mike's there, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I go, hey, Mike, I'm Chuck. And he goes, oh, you're the new DJ. I heard a lot about you. All right, good. Now I don't have to tell him who I am. And I go, they're talking about shit I'm not allowed to hear. They told me to come down and play with you. So we just started talking about music. Then I got to, come back upstairs. Door slam. So I'm like, all right, Mike, great to talk to you. Now, obviously, he knows who and what I'm dealing with.
Right.
So I come back upstairs. They drive me home. I walk in the club probably that next Thursday. And Mike Ferrante goes, oh, wait. Mike Tramp said to give you the keys to the car. I never heard that saying before. I'm getting like a company Eldorado. Right? So I'm 22 years old going, this is the greatest job ever. I'm getting a Cadillac. And he goes, no, you fucking idiot. He meant just to go get the fucking club. All right? So I'm like, now I want an Eldorado. So Mike really helped give me, because obviously they listened to Mike a lot, because he was their moneymaker. So him endorsing me was a big deal. But yeah, in 1987, he nicknamed me the Raw Lamore. They were calling me that behind the scenes, and I had no clue until the album came out. They gave me a special thank you. Special thanks to Chuck the Raw Lamore K. And I'm like, I'm running with this motherfucker. That's cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So why did you disappear from it?
What I mean, like the scene, or why did I quit Lamore, or both?
A little bit of both.
All right. Towards the middle of '88, I moved out of my mom. I was doing 90% of the stuff I did at Lamore living at home at my mom's. In June of '80, yeah, it was June actually, June 1st of '88, I moved out. I got my own apartment. Now I got real bills. So now I'm looking at my future. I never really did. I never looked in the past. I never looked ahead. So now I'm looking at my future, and I'm like, all right, what I'm making, the club didn't pay me that. The club really underpaid me, but they gave me my own nights. My own nights made me decent money, so I was able to live. But I'm sitting and I'm like, all right, I got to think of the future. And I'm looking at the club, and I'm like, on a packed night, the club's doing great. On some of my nights, they're doing great. When we had a local band headlining, it was a disaster area. It was empty. At this point, clubs like the Cat Club and the Limelight are packing them in for their Wednesdays and their Sundays. If they had to do 3 or 4 nights a week, they wouldn't have. But they were doing one night this music, one night this music. Smart.
Right.
They were letting in almost everybody a good percentage of people for free, and depending on who they were, a few drink tickets. So I told the club, I think in maybe September of '88, it could have been August, I said, I want to have a meeting with you guys. The club is not the same anymore. We're a venue. We're no longer a nightclub. And they didn't understand that. Again, just not putting them down. I just saw it from a customer's point of view, because I was still one of those guys, like Dave said. I said, here's what I want to do. I'll stop DJing. They didn't want to hear that. I said, I'll DJ the big nights. I take off a lot of nights anyway. I'm getting burned out. I'll be in charge of who DJs. I wanted Dave.O, who was a famous DJ from WSU, and one of my assistants in my company, AYI, which stood for Yes Indeed, to do the commercial nights. A guy by the name of Ken Creedy, who helped me out tremendously on the hardcore stuff, because I love hardcore, I love punk, but a Sunday afternoon, I was not driving an '87 Firebird and parking it parking it on the Bowery in Manhattan to see a band at 6 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm getting home at 5:30 in the afternoon, because that was my Friday night. He was going to do the really heavy stuff, and Alex was going to do everything in between. That was my pitch. And if it was a big band, I'd do it. And every night I'd host. So I do everything from on stage, the best of all worlds. And they go, what are you going to do during the night? I go, give me a big guest list. If it's a sold out show, a small guest list. If it's a local band, let's say Deceiver, just to pick Donnie's band. Playing, instead of them playing in front of 250 people, let me let in every band that's on my roster, all the local bands. Every member gets in for free. They're going to come with their girlfriends or their buddy, and they're going to drink. And I go, give me some drink tickets on the slower nights. I'll give no more than one out to a person unless they're a famous guy. And it just invites them in. If I'm getting a guy in for free and he's bringing his girlfriend, and I give him one drink ticket, he's going to spend $40. And at that time, 40 is like 150 now.
Yeah.
At the bar, you're not getting that. It's $8, but you're making it the other end. And we have a packed club. They go, we got to talk about it. I leave. I go upstairs to the booth. One of the owners, John, comes up laughing his ass off. John, I don't know if Dave, if you knew John Zampetti. I love John. John came up to the booth and he goes, he's laughing. I go, what? He goes, did you really think they were going to pay you so you can get your friends in for free and drink for free? And I go, that's what they took out of it? And he goes, yeah. And I go, all right. And at that point, I knew my time was gone. I thought I was going to last until the New Year's. I was thinking I'd do New Year's and make it a big bye-bye Chuck party or whatever. Party New Year's, ended big. 1989, the new Lamore begins. I end.
Right.
I couldn't get that far. One day in November of '88, I left a message and I said I quit. Keep my albums, keep my videos, keep my personal belongings.
Wow.
Good luck. Um, and I know they offered Dave Gizzo. I don't know the full job, but I know they offered Dave, and Dave said, no, thank you, And it wasn't that he was happy. He just saw what I was going through. He was my assistant. They hired nobody. They had 4 or 5 DJs work rotating. Now, you guys are pros in this industry. You've done it way longer than I have. John's still doing it.
Yeah,
That takes away the vibe.
70%.
When you don't know who's going to, and every DJ has their own vibe and stuff. And no matter who got the job, it would have been different to me. That doesn't mean they wouldn't have been good at it. It would have been different. But you have to get the club used to something new. They had whoever they were, just 4 or 5 guys. I thought my buddy Alex should have got the shot because he deserved it at that point. They didn't want to give it to him. They had 4 or 5 guys rotating until about a year or so after I left. And then they hired a gentleman by the name of Tony Bones. He was a regular DJ when it closed and when they reopened. I thought that was a ridiculous way to handle it. And one day I walked in, to say hello.
Right.
And I go, why are you doing these multiple DJs? They're like, we figured it's a good way to see who's the best. I disagree, but all right. And then they said, we also didn't want to create another you.
Ooh.
And then I went, yeah, I made the right choice. You didn't want to create another guy who worked for pennies on the dollar and who brought you national publicity, got you on the radio, got you in national magazines. That's exactly what they should have did, was create another me.
Absolutely.
But like, it sounds like I'm putting them down. I don't.
No.
They were the brains behind everything. But at a point, I differed from the view.
You had a different vision than they had.
Absolutely. And then they eventually hired Tony. And, people, I was never there when he DJ'd, but people seemed to like him because they hired him when they reopened. But, and to be honest, towards the end of my time, there were a lot of skittles involved. I was partying because I was depressed. I didn't like my job, and I was staring at a future that I knew I wasn't happy with. So I was working there for the paycheck. And when you do that and you're trying to be creative,
You're
it's not
basically
as good.
Chuck,
What was that, John? I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Oh, Dave, say it again.
I have to share something with you. What you said really hits home with me because that.
Hold on, Dave. Go
ahead.
When we do a podcast, when you're a guest, you can tell your fucking story, okay?
You're gonna hear it now, pal.
I'm kidding, buddy. Go ahead.
What you said really hits home with me because that's actually what happened with me as well. The day I decided I can't go to work anymore, I have to retire. And my reasons were different than yours, but it was kind of the same thing, that I was at a crossroads in my life that I knew I wasn't going to continue as a DJ. And quite honestly, I knew that this was going to be the next thing for me.
Okay.
So I knew that I had to just end the relationship with the clubs and then start something fresh, doing this with John and you, of course. And, I didn't mean to interrupt, but.
No. It's a 3-way combo, man. I'm just getting to know John. You know me. I'm going to bust your balls if I like you. And I'm going to ignore you if I don't like you. So this is all good. Also, the other thing that was happening was when I started in the scene, 80-ish, we were discovering shit together. By the time 87, 88 came around, MTV was playing metal. SOU was playing metal, up until 6 o'clock every day. The scene wasn't a bunch of people find out, wow, you got long hair, you got a jacket with Saxon on it, cool, and bonded. And that's cool. I'm not the type of guy that loves indie bands until they get big. I think people like that are jerk-offs, to be honest with you. Be happy the scene grew. But it was less of a camaraderie. I almost said that word correctly. And that kind of took away. And so I was like, all right, another reason I wanted to be out in the crowd was because what I played was less important because people heard the songs on MTV and WSOU. Up until 86, I was playing stuff for the first time people were hearing them because I had my ear to the ground. So when MTV started doing, obviously the big bands, they played all day, but Headbangers Ball, people were hearing Overkill when they never heard Overkill before.
Right.
Anthrax, Motorhead, all the bands they wouldn't play in the day. So it wasn't like, wow, the only place we could hear it was on MTV, and MTV was as big as those years. So that took away what excited me about programming. But so that's why I was like, let me still do the mic work, because Dave was there. Nobody could touch me on the mic. Dee Snider could.
All right, so we're back. We had a minute or two of technical difficulty. So
hold on, John. Don't lie. Dave wanted to take a break to brush his hair. Don't lie to people.
Okay, actually,
being that I'm the only guy that has hair between the three of us.
All right.
I mean, God only made a couple perfect heads. The rest he put hair on.
Hey.
Hey, you know what? I'm just going to sit back and watch this dynamic happen. This is interesting. This is the podcast,
And listen, just because you don't have a fucking bald spot on your head, okay?
I was blessed.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about you, but I'm not bald. I shave my head. Are you bald?
Yeah, I only have like a little patch left.
And it's on your head. You're saying that little patch, right?
Yeah, and like
okay. Ass hair don't count, Vincent. All right.
Nah, I'm the most non-hairiest fucking guy you'll ever meet in your life.
All right, now let's get off your ass here and into a topic that other people care about.
All right.
Okay, so anyway, technical difficulties are over with. We're back with Chuck Kaye, the Roar of Lemoore. So Chuck, what made you come back into it? Why are you?
An owner's son contacted me and asked me if I could start getting involved. And I asked him, what do you mean by involved? Like, I don't want to go back into business. He goes, no, we're unhappy with the legacy of the club, the way it's being told. A lot of things aren't, this is his words, a lot of things weren't truthful. And he didn't like the fact that nobody knew his father owned the club. Because, he felt that people were taking credit for things and his father never got mentioned. And he goes, there's a guy that I know. I'm going to give a shout out to Wes. What's up, Wes? He has a documentary coming out on Paul Di'Anno, which looks amazing, the original singer in Iron Maiden. And he goes, he's interested in possibly doing a documentary on the club. But when research is being done, your name keeps coming up, meaning my name. And I was like, all right, I'll do it for your dad. Because his father, Frank, I'm talking about Frank Fillais Sr. and his son, Frank Fillais Jr., and God rest his soul, Mike Fillais, who passed away about a year or two ago. So I said, I'll do it for you guys. That's why I came back and I started telling stories. The documentary didn't work out, not because of myself or the guy wanted to do it. We were on the same page. There was some owner issues, and it's not my story to tell. It's theirs. Not bad, not good. It was just, I didn't want to do it without every owner's approval. And we couldn't get that. So the documentary got scraped. To tighten up the story, I'm like, all right, it's over with. I'm going to just leave Facebook. And in December, I said, I'm going to go back to just doing what I do. I have health issues. I'm just going to, sit around, do what I do until I can't do it anymore. And, I go to the big metal club in the sky.
How are you feeling? I mean, let's get serious for a second, because it's not like you're not feeling well,
Well, I have a dire heart condition, and we can get into it in a little bit. I know you guys wanted to talk about that, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I have a dire heart condition, so it's it's not like I had a cold or anything. Right. So I'm like, all right, just let me go back to what I was doing prior, which was living like a fucking veal in Atlantic City. And then I love that Howard Stern line. My mother raised me like a veal. Brilliant. So I told maybe two people I was doing this, and one person said, then all your stories are going to be lost. Do a blog site. And I went, you know what? You're right. I spent time on stories, and this way, if anybody wants to pick up on legacy and write a book on Lemoore or anything, they got the stories. So I Googled, and Google Sites came up, and I'm like, I got Google. No Frills website. I'll just do it text version, no pictures, whatever. And I thought I had like 12 stories. I had like 30, 35 that were already written. So now I'm spending time copy pasting. So I wasn't able to delete Facebook yet. Now I have a website, and I'm like, all right, the website's like / Google Sites / Chuck / I'm like, who the fuck is going to find this? So I said, all right, let me pay for a domain name. Now I got a website. I get contacted by New York One. We love your website.
What is the website?
What?
What is the website?
www.therawlamore.com. Thank you, Dave.
Ah, yes, indeed.
So New York One contacts me and they're like, we love your website. We were thinking about doing a story on the club. You're the guy that everybody talks about. You got a website. That's my angle to get the story approved. Now I go, cool. I hang up the email. How fucking So I pulled the email out of the wall. I was mad. So I closed the browser, and I'm like, oh fuck! Now I got to make this website look somewhat presentable because people are actually going to go to it. They're going to advertise it. So then I put time and effort into it, and just like Pacino and Godfather 3, you know where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. Every time I try, go Dave, do it. It seems like you got it. Go.
Every time I try to leave, they bring me back. Just
yeah,
when I was out.
That was totally what happened. Yeah. So then New York One comes out, and now I'm getting thousands of hits. Thousands. I'm getting contacted by Hollywood producers.
That's awesome.
I'm getting contacted by bands who, like, everybody thinks everybody's on Facebook. Guess what? They're fucking not. It's a newsflash.
Yeah.
I've gotten more hits from non-Facebook than I do from Facebook. If I can just give people advice, Facebook is awesome. Don't think that's the real world. It's not. I've gotten contacted by more people have nothing to do with Facebook. Or they're on it and they just like check out a picture of a cat and then fucking, and then they hang up the email. So the New York One thing comes out and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm doing this. Then people like yourself hit me up, other people, other podcasts, getting offers for books. I don't want to do a book. I'm like, I got a website. If people want to, I have more content on there than most books have. There's a donation area. People can help me out if they want. I'm not about that, but I'm in dire health and I'm disabled.
Those are costs,
What was that, Dave? I'm sorry.
I said every little bit helps, I mean.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, if every person
a website, and
All right, but here's the thing. I know you guys are going to plug it and stuff, but here's the thing. If every person that told me I should write a book gave me $1, I'd be doing well.
I hear you.
That's the funny thing about this. Everybody wants me to write a book, put in the time and effort, put in the expense. It's the website with an area to say, hey, man, if you can help me out, that's cool. That's the way to go on this. Now, there's other things in the work. There's national magazines that have contacted me. Hopefully one I can announce soon.
Right.
I know you guys know, but don't give it away because I can't announce it yet. And there's, like I said, Hollywood producers contacted me.
That's awesome.
I don't count shit until it happens, brother. I learned enough.
I
mean, that's life in general, but the entertainment industry even more. Plus, I don't know what the fuck is going on in my health day to day, so I can't commit to too many things. So, like working with you guys, that's what I'm doing for now. Hopefully, I get to make an announcement. I might have, and I know you guys know what I'm not going to say. I have a live show idea. One show, not a tour. I can't do a tour, and hopefully, I'm healthy enough to make that one show. So that's kind of where we're at. And I came back because of Mike Felice Jr. And every time something happens, like New York One or something, he just laughs and goes, "I'm sorry," because he knows now I'm stuck fucking doing this. But yeah, it's the truth. But you know what? It's fun. I'm having a good time, and the people have been great. I was just at a Mammoth show in Atlantic City with Mike Tramp, and the amount of people who came up to me it was awesome. I was being with Tramp part of it, absolutely. But people with Lamore shirts, so they're just like, they made such a big deal of me being there. And I get it. It's because I haven't been around for 40 years. If I'd been around, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. So the people have been really nice. I just hope one of them wins the lotto.
I hear you. Well, that's what I was talking about in the intro with the love of the heavy metal community. You know, you'd be surprised that, like, let's talk about the Old Bridge Militia for a second.
My boy.
Yeah, those guys have been rocking it for years, and they're great guys, you know? I know you guys know them better than I do. I know them through reputation. You guys, and John included, you guys know them better than I do.
Hold on. Here's the funny story about that. I thought they hated me.
Really?
We never talked in Lemoore. Ever. I remembered one day, it was a Thursday night, they were working with a band, or I don't know if they worked with them yet, a band called Blessed Death. Heaviest of the heavy. Blessed Death's playing, and like 2 other bands were playing. It was one of our tryout Thursdays. So I had to play everything because we had a Slayer type band, for lack of a better word, and like a Motley Crue type band and a Van Halen type band. So the guy comes up to the booth and he goes, "Why aren't you playing Venom?" I'm like, "Well, the band that's coming on next is," I go, "I can't." He goes, you know, he sounded like George Leona, obviously. So he leaves, and I'm like, I fuck those guys. Never thought about them again. They never said hello to me. I was friends with bands they followed. I didn't know what Metal Joe looked like. This first person who contacted me when I came online was Metal Joe. He DMs me and he goes, "Holy shit, we've been looking for you for 10 years.
That's
I'm
cool.
like, no, it's great now. I thought it was the fucking fight. So I'm like, yeah. And he goes, "What's your number? Can I call you?" I'm like, "Bring it on." So I answer the phone. "Hello?" And he goes, "Man, I missed that voice." And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on? I thought you guys hated me." And he goes, "Hated you?" He goes, "We've been doing charity shows, man. We wanted you to work on, wanted you to do this." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You don't know the influence you had on me and his partner at the time. He goes, when we DJ'd, you were such an influence. We used to drive to the club and go, 'What song do you think Chuck's going to play?' And I'm like, 'I thought you hated me.' And he goes, 'No.' And I told him the story. He goes, 'Oh, that was Rock and Ray. He's a fucking drunken idiot.'" And then we talked for 3 hours our first time.
That's great.
And he's been one of my biggest supporters, not just as what I'm doing, helping me out financially as well. Awesome dude. I feel so bad because I was supposed to host their benefit in September for Cliff Burton's 39th anniversary. I hate saying the word anniversary for something negative. It's so weird. But the 39th whatever year since he passed, and I was in the hospital that day. So that ties into, I don't know what I could commit to in the future. And I know you guys know that. In one of John's promos, he said health permitting. That's what all this is, man. But yeah, I love Metal Joe. Shout out to Metal Joe, man.
Shout out Old Bridge Militia.
So good, John. You were saying how you know them?
Yeah, I know Old Bridge Militia. I used to do some work with Freddie Gorhow, who from Push.
Yeah. I managed Freddie for a little bit.
And he was in a band called Dark Sky Choir back in, like, I'm going to say between 2014 and 2017. And when they were actually starting out just as a cover band before they went original, they were doing some shows for Old Bridge Militia.
Was Freddie ever in a band that had a good name? He was in Push. He was in Push. Dark Side Matters, whatever the fuck you just said. He was in a band Explorer with 13 X's. I mean, I love Freddie, but I mean, branding is so important. Like, John, I love that you're going with Fatty's Funhouse because you're a heavy set guy and you smoke cigars and you smoke probably other than it just works.
Actually, believe it or not, I don't smoke anything because to a certain degree, I'm in a health-wise, I'm in a situation.
Yeah, no, I know, and I gotta go in for a stent as well soon. It's so like even outside of what I got, my other parts of my heart not working. See, I actually thought we should have called the podcast "Two Fat Guys in a Wig," but
we just might do that special edition.
Hold on, that'll be for Patreon.
Right.
There we go. Getting back to Fred for a minute, he actually just finished up a 4-year stint with Ted Poley, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I knew Ted when he was the drummer in Prophet, man.
Right. Russell or
That's
Harron, all those guys.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, before he got in Danger with my buddy, the bass player Bruno.
Man, you know, there was always one thing, like Ted's name always rang that bell in my head. I'm like, I know him, but it wasn't just from Danger.
Yeah, no, he was the drummer in Prophet. I think he
was great.
I think he sang lead on one song from Behind the Drum Kit. And then they got my buddy Michael Salacci, and great drummer, but like he didn't have Ted's vocal stuff, but they didn't need it, and they had a different singer before Russell as well.
Yeah, that's right, they did.
On their first album, the guy who sings Everything You Are to Me, Dean Fasano, I think his name was.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, listen, the first album, it was very different Prophet. They were more in the Kansas
Right.
type mode, like late 70s stuff. And they had a singer, Dean. So it was Dean, the other three guys, and Ted on drums.
Now, was Scott always the bass player?
Yes. I got a great Prophet story for you. It's actually on the website, real quickly.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the first. When I first met Prophet, I was a daytime manager at the factory. So Prophet would come in, and the guitar player introduced himself to me. Hi, I'm Alan. I'm like, okay, Alan, how you doing, man? Right now, you guys know who the guitar player in Prophet is?
Kenny Dubman.
Yes, it's the same guy.
Oh.
Here's why he was Alan. He was 16. So they were playing in Jersey, like we didn't care at the factory. They were playing in Jersey bars, or he might have been 17 or something. They were playing in Jersey bars, so they lived the gimmick. He had a license because there was no pictures on him. Alan
Awesome.
begun.
That's right.
And he took
When the license
pictures. Yeah, so one day I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden Scott goes, "Hey, Kenny." I go, "Who the fuck is Kenny?" And Alan answers.
That's brilliant.
And I'm going, what? And he goes, "Oh, you don't know." And they told me, I'm like, I appreciated them so much for living the gimmick. I'm a wrestler.
Brilliant.
I'm friends with a lot of wrestlers. They lived the gimmick.
Yeah.
He was Alan 24/7, so they never slipped up in a Jersey club.
That's so funny.
That's great.
So shout out to Alan. Rest in peace, brother.
Hell yeah. Well, while we're talking about
Long live
music,
Kenny.
Yeah.
while we're talking about music, you said you didn't always want to be a DJ, you know, like we touched on that earlier.
Right.
But when you were a little kid, were you interested in music? Like me and my mom, you know, we used to drive around
I had
radio.
By the time I was a teen, I had more albums than anybody I knew who wasn't a DJ.
And what was
And that's what. I'm sorry.
what was the kind of music you were listening to when you first started?
Everything. I listened to everything from Elton John to Bee Gees to metal. I wasn't a big reggae guy. It's not that I don't appreciate it. I appreciate all types of music, but you listen to what moves you.
Right.
But yeah, no, Bee Gees is one of my top 4 favorite things in the world. I mean, you know, the 60s stuff, the harmonies.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are DJs. How awesome is You Should Be Dancing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
I don't care if you're in Slayer. You're gonna say, what's a Foo Fighters did a cover of it. That's how funny it is.
and Dave Grohl killed it.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, and it was Dave Grohl singing, "What you doing on your back?" It's terrible. But no, I listened to everything. What moved me the most was like Aerosmith, early Kiss. So, and then that kind of got uncool towards the late 70s. Kiss changed. And Aerosmith was, kind of drugged out, and like after Draw a Line, it wasn't the same type of band. So I gravitated towards like the Judas Priest. And then when Maiden came out, Maiden was really the band that changed me into who I became, because I listened to their first album and I go, this is like Rush meets Judas Priest, because they were kind of progressive with a punk singer. I'm like, you're covering all the bases for me.
Yeah.
This is going to be the band that creates the new genre. And I can't say they did, but they spearheaded it for sure. I haven't heard a lot of bands sound like Iron Maiden because they can't.
No.
But they influence everybody.
Yes.
And that's when I started, like, I would leave Staten. Well, Dave knew where I lived in Staten Island. I would take the bus to the ferry to the train to the village, just to walk around and look at places that had Kerrang and Trouser Press.
Oh,
Which
so
probably
that's
90% of people don't know.
music. Like you're talking about that age. Where were you going? Like in the village also? And
8th Street, 8th Street. And 8th Street,
wow.
I just walk around. And, I had friends that opened up Tower Records. Legitimately, I knew, like, the guy who opened it up.
right on.
Let's just say we had a Skittles connection every Thursday when they got paid. Okay? So I would just spend hours by myself. And you know what happens when you do shit like that? Like kids today, oh God, I'm fucking old. I'm actually using the kids today line. They don't know what it's like to, like, bump into people and go, you're into them too? And build a bond. That's what I loved. I'm going to get passionate now. Loved about the scene. I see somebody in the same record store as I do, and like pulling out a Scorpions Virgin Killer album. I go, you're into that too? Yeah. And we became friends from that.
Yes.
You're right. It's like,
One of my oldest friends is exactly that situation.
Let's meet at this head store before we go out. And that's how the scene built. When John Zazula started doing shows, he's really the godfather of all this, not Lamore. Again, Lamore worked with him and made it bigger and better. But when he do a show, and he did them on Staten Island before he did them at Lamore,
Yeah.
it was, I think, Raven, Anvil, and the Rods together.
Raven, Riot, and Anvil.
Yes.
That was at the St. George Theater.
Yeah, yes.
That was the original Headbangers Ball, in fact.
Well, yes. So you'd sit there, and that's when you met people who weren't from Staten Island, or the people
It was
from Jersey
amazing. I was
meeting
there.
people from Staten Island. And it wasn't like you're walking around going, hey, you're here, I'm here. You just stand next to people, and you go, man, I love this song. I
Yep.
never heard this band before. I never
Yep.
did. Oh, they're great. You got to hear this band. And before you know it, you're talking about bands like Angel Witch, which probably 90% of the world, 90%, 99% of the world never heard. But
Right,
you're like,
right.
Angel Witch, I can't wait to check them out. And that's the scene that I love. And I guess that passion George and Mike and the other owners saw when I was a regular at the club, for them to approach me and say, we didn't know you DJ'd. Try here. Because that's what I cared about. It was so fun discovering bands and picking up a Kerrang magazine and sitting talking about bands from England that you never heard of, and then caring about them, man. That was the cool shit.
On a side note, real quick, sorry, John. On a side note, I want to add to that Headbangers Ball, that Riot, Raven, and Anvil show.
Yeah.
I ran into Sandy Slavin. Anyway, he remembered the concert, and he remembered how important it was. That was the point I was making, that it was such an important concert for that time, that it was, like you said, the first time the community really came out in force.
Yeah, and the other thing about that was when they announced that show, the first thing I thought of was it's going to be empty, because Sandy Slavin did play drums in Riot. It was, drummer in Riot. I just Googled. That's the good part about not being on screen. I could work.
There you go.
But yeah, no, I didn't think they'd sell it out, because I only knew like 50 people who knew those bands. But you take 50 from Staten Island, 50 from Brooklyn, 50 from Long Island, 50 from there, you're doing 1,000 people.
And that's
And
exactly
that's when I realized, holy shit, there's people all around that are into what I'm into. Because there wasn't MTV, there wasn't social media. You had to be somewhere to say, wow, that motherfucker who lives in Old Bridge is into the same shit I am. Why are we talking to each other? You know?
Exactly. And you physically got to meet each other.
Yeah, and that's what built camaraderie. That's what the scenes don't have now, is camaraderie.
No, not at all. So let me ask you this, Chuck. How did you, I know you were big on mic work. How did your mic work make you stand out from other DJs?
A lot weren't doing it. Lamore had the most mic. Like when I first got to first Lamore East, I did minimal mic work. I didn't do the personality that you guys know now. When I was at the factory, I announced Last Call. I didn't even announce the bands. They went on stage and started making so much noise, nobody could hear me anyway, so I just potted down. I had never been on stage. I have a good story for you on stage until I got to Lemoore.
Okay.
At Lemoore East, I had to do the announcements, and I hated my voice, so I said, "Let me amp it up a little bit," and that began the raw type of sounds. Because I don't walk around talking like this. That's George. You know,
No,
and then when I got them, here's how this happened. My first night in the club, I actually did a one night DJ thing at Lemoore a week before I officially started on my birthday when Zebra played, because George knew I was a huge Zebra fan and I was friends with the band, and I was in the studio when they recorded The Record Plant with Jack Douglas and Rod O'Brien. So I said, if I'm working the club anyway, can I work a week earlier because of Zebra? He goes, we can't, and I can't get in why, but because they were leaving the club I was hired at. He goes, but because it's you, you can work that night, and we'll have Alex, who's the DJ I replaced, work Queens. Now, you guys are DJs. Let me know how you feel about this.
Okay.
Alex had to take his albums and everything out of the club on a Friday, bring it back on a Saturday, and then I replaced him. That's not treating him cool. I was uncomfortable with that, but I go, just let me start and do the week, And they said no. They had whatever. I felt bad enough I was replacing the guy. I thought it was a bad way to go out. But I didn't have control of that. So I walk in with my albums, and Randy sees me. And Randy goes, "You're the guy? New guy?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Cool." So he actually helped Randy Jackson. I'm sorry, from Zebra. He helps you up with my milk crates. And he goes, "Are you nervous?" I go, "Not really nervous," but I go, "I have a little anxiety because there's a lot more focus on the DJ at Lemoore than any other club I've ever been on." And he goes, "Just be yourself and show your personality." And he left the booth. Show my personality? How am I going to show my personality playing Round and Round by Rat? Like, how is that? How is that different from either you guys or whoever else? I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? I didn't realize at the time my attitude about it was what he meant. So that night comes and goes. The owners are like, "We can't wait to have you next week." I now realize why they did the one night thing. It was partially because Lemoore East expected me back, and partially to see if I worked in Brooklyn. It made sense. I'm 22 at that day. I'm not looking at it from a big picture. So I get to the club. My first weekend is Anvil. Speaking of Anvil, it's October 26th and 27th. John, you're a little young for this, but Dave would know.
Okay.
Every club would do a Halloween costume party on the Saturday before Halloween. Whether it was the 26th, 27th, 28th, whatever. Lemoore came from the disco era, the owners. Anvil's playing. Nobody wants to see a guy dressed like the cowboy from the Village People. Okay. So Friday night comes, goes great. People digging me. I'm playing a little heavier stuff than I did for Zebra, obviously, because I'm not a douchebag. So I'm driving with the owners, because again, I didn't drive.
Right.
And Mike Parente goes, "What do you got in mind for the costume party?" I go, "I don't know. I guess I'll just watch it. What do you want me to vote?" He goes, "No, you're hosting it." I go, "I am?" And he goes, "Who do you think was going to host it?" I go, "I don't know. I thought maybe you got a host." He goes, "You're the fucking host." So I'm in panic mode because I never, ever talked on stage on a microphone or hosted anything. I know it sounds weird now knowing me, but I was not that guy. I just wanted to headbang.
Right.
So I tell the bartender who's working that the famous Lemoore had bleachers on the side of the DJ booth. When I began there, they had a bar on the side. So I'm talking to the bartender. He goes, "What's going on?" I go, "I'm stressing. I got to host this party." He goes, "Just show your personality." I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this? I go, "There's some hidden code. I never got the DJ manual before. Maybe I should have been a DJ. Maybe I should have went to DJ fucking school, right?" So I go, he goes, "Look, give me 2 minutes before you go on stage." I go, "All right." So I come down, he has 3 Alabama Slammers ready, not shots, full. Down them all, take this beer with you on stage. So I down them. By the time I get to the stage, I'm like, "Oh, this feels good." Now, Dave knows we had a big video screen that covered like half the stage right in the center. Now, this was before I had big say in a lot of things. I don't think anybody knew I was on stage, like the sound man, the light man, or anything, because I'm standing on stage. Now, I had a VJ at the time who just pressed buttons. So the song ends. He doesn't have another song queued up because, it wasn't his job. And the crowd's thinking Anvil's coming on. So they start going nuts. Anvil, Anvil. I'm standing behind the screen going, I hate my life. I hate my life. Then I guess the lighting guy ran to the booth because he thought Anvil was coming on, and he shuts the stage lights. So now I'm in the dark, and the crowd's definitely thinking Anvil's coming on. The screen goes up, Anvil, Anvil, and who the fuck is this asshole? And I'm sitting there with a beer in the dark. So all of a sudden, a follow spot comes on, but it was wherever the light was in. So it was like 6 feet to the left of me. And I'm going, this is fucking disaster. I'm going to get fired. I'm not even coming back as a customer. Then the light goes straight. But, if you run follow spot, you aim at the chest so you don't blind the person that you put the light up. He puts it right in my eyes. Here's when I realize my personality. I go, get that fucking light out of my eyes. John, I swear to you, the place stopped, took it in, and started laughing. I go, we're going to try it again. This time, hit me in the fucking chest. Right? I'm not doing it to get over. I'm doing it because if I'm getting fired, fuck all of you.
Because it's who you are.
So Dave knows that it was my person. So the light comes back on, I go, and the crowd chants. I go, cheers. I go, all right, this could work. I go, now I can see these crazy motherfuckers. The place goes nuts. I'm like, I'm just going to be Dee Snider.
Yeah.
So my personality meets Dee Snider. During the course of the concert, then I first go, by the way, I don't want to do this fucking thing that I'm doing right now. I go, I'd rather be up in the booth playing Anvil and Accepted Maiden. Place goes nuts. But I got to fucking host a Halloween costume party because the owners still think it's fucking disco era 1979 in Brooklyn. You guys are going, the crowd, nobody ever did this. So a guy comes out like a cowboy. And I go, oh yeah, here's a fucking cowboy. And the crowd's losing. But the one that made it legendary was, and if she's listening, I apologize. But a girl came out in a sexy nurse costume that had a little too much weight.
Okay.
So the crowd, she was attractive. She looked good. But the crowd's like into her because, it's Anvil crowd. They're seeing a girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as the girl's leaving, I see her backside and I go, excuse me, sweetheart. If you don't win this year and you come back next year, bring the rest of the costume. That was it. That's when I knew, all right, I'm just going to be me. I walk off and I see George, and George stares me. He doesn't give me a smile or anything. He goes, you're a fucking star. And he walks away. I go, I get it now. They saw the guy in the club who they saw on stage. And they were like, if this guy could be that guy and spin decent music, that's who should be running. And that's when the whole persona thing started.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Now, talking about music, what was your approach to programming your music?
Good. I'm good. Good. I like to be honest to everybody. This is something I said I want to discuss with you guys because you guys are DJs. So this is something I never said publicly before. My approach was the approach from a non-DJ perspective, from the guy who was in clubs. And I always said, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to realize what I don't think works and do the opposite. Instead of copying what worked, I always felt that just worked for me. So I remember being in clubs, and this isn't any club in particular, or any DJ in particular, being there and hearing, I'm going to just pick a song, Looks That Kill by Motley Crue.
Okay.
Tom Werman produced that. That song sounded incredible loud over a DJ system. So you got a song like that. You got the Looks That Kill. Bright, big, bold. And then after that, hearing a badly recorded album or a band's demo, then you're hearing what I would call sonic mud. And then after that, you hear round and round. It took people out of the moment. Even if that band was playing the club, that band was your best friend that you're playing their demo, it took people, too many people out for the people that enjoyed it. So when I started DJing, to me, this is before anybody used the word sonic. I thought sonically. Again, I was in the studio with Aerosmith. I not wasn't with Aerosmith's producers. I was in it with. I saw how little things mattered, and I listened to stuff. So when I programmed, I looked for two things. It had to sound good over the system. I don't care if you're a fucking band and you're my Gustafson, Overkill. Bobby was one of my best friends at this time. I never played their demo because it sounded like. When he handed me the album, I'm like, please make it sound decent over the system. I listened to it at home first. I'm like, all right, Rotten to the Core is fucking brilliant. I got to the club, 8:30, I put it on just so I can hear it. I go, I got a little more hit. That ties into the songs I picked. I think too many DJs make the mistake of thinking it's a radio station instead of a club. Meaning they show off their music knowledge. I'm going to play the 8th song off an album nobody ever, the 8th most known song off an album nobody ever heard of to show. No, you want the guy at the bar who's not even paying attention to you to be tapping his toe or grooving to the song or drinking in the rhythm or chanting a chorus that he didn't even know he was chanting. That to me is what a club DJ, a rock club DJ should be doing. So I looked for a song that sounded good and not my favorite song on the album, not the deepest cut. Whatever song I felt people would identify with by the end of it. Meaning a chorus, a groove, like Dave was there doing this. A big song people relate to me is The Mentors, the 4F Club.
Right.
Fella, fucker, forget
The Mentors.
The first time I played that, the whole club chanted it. People ran up to me, asked what it was. Suicidal Tendencies, when I started playing them. They had a song called I Saw Your Mommy and Your Mommy's Dead.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Big hit.
Okay. When I played, everybody else played Institutionalized, which I did too. I played that song. Bartenders who hated suicide, like, play that song about killing somebody's mom. You know, right? It's not what it's about, but I know what you mean. Because there's only 80 metal songs like that. No. So I look for stuff like that, Rotten to the Core. You might hate Overkill. I don't care who you are, but the end of that song is Rotten to the Core. Master of Puppets. I didn't break that. It was good, you know, but that was such a perfect song for that club. Because the crowd, I pot down Master, and have 3,000 people chant it. Those two things made a good song for me to play. That's what I cared about program. It was never my favorite song on an album. My favorite band, everybody knows, is Cheap Trick. I never shoved them down people's throat because it wasn't about me. Too many DJs, it's about fucking them, and that's why they didn't reach what I reached.
Chuck, what did you say your favorite band is again?
Oh, yeah. You piss ass. You piss ass. Holy shit.
Who's this Cheap Trick band? I've never heard of them before.
Oh, that's fucking. I wonder why you're undressing in front of me. I'm like,
the whole time I've been wearing it.
I had no. Well, I'm not really checking you out, brother. You know,
I actually believe they're playing Starland this week.
Friday.
Yeah.
They're playing Friday. Well, depending on what it says, they're playing on the 20th. But yeah, no. And Dave knows I never shoved Cheap Trick down people's throats. I played them on the right nights. One of my most successful programming was playing ELO Kitties on Ramones nights. Because that's like Cheap Trick's most punk type song. And I had that conversation with Rick Nielsen when I'll hold that because I know we're going to do stories. But yeah, I told Rick Nielsen that was one of my most requested songs when the Ramones played. He thought that was really cool.
That is pretty cool.
So, John, what about you? You're a DJ. What about you? What's your thoughts on what I said?
Well, these days, rock is like a dinosaur in the clubs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm playing a lot of hip hop, R&B. You know, very, very limited rock.
Right.
You know, every once in a while, you'll get somebody, you know, an entertainer that likes rock.
Right.
And
by an entertainer, do you mean a stripper?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I got what you meant, and but it's just,
I'd like
I
to
don't want people thinking there's like an acoustic guy in the corner playing rock music. Okay.
it's
That would
funny.
be me.
It's funny you guys are talking about like the state of rock and roll today. I had a conversation with a gentleman. He's a little bit older, and he was stating about like specifically about like Greta Van Fleet, how they were sounding like Led Zeppelin. And what I said to him, I said, look, to be honest with you, my take is this: Led Zeppelin doesn't exist. That kind of music still needs to be around, and these kids have latched onto it. And I didn't see it as a negative thing. I thought of it as a positive thing.
Brother, here's my Aerosmith was a Rolling Stones fucking knockoff, and they became Aerosmith.
There you go.
It's as long as you're doing what you're doing well, fun. We're gonna get into a little music stuff. What I hate is gatekeepers. I hate people saying this isn't metal enough. This isn't this enough. This isn't this enough. Fuck you. Every type of music is good. Even like the poser hair metal stuff that supposedly nobody in Lemoore likes. I'm sorry. The biggest man to come out of Lemoore was fucking White Lion.
I was going to say.
People reinvent Lemoore. I was there. I booked the bands. I knew who drew. Kicks, White Lion,
Loved Kicks.
Factor Club. Okay? All music has a value. All music styles. That doesn't mean you have to like all bands. I hate gatekeepers who say metal enough. You're not into this enough. You're not into this enough. I listened to, when I was at Lemoore, I would listen to fucking Robert Goulet sing If Ever I Would Leave You. I don't know why that song moved me. Did I play it at the club? No, I'm still alive. Obviously, I didn't. But I could listen to anything. I wasn't into certain types of music. That doesn't mean it's bad. That doesn't mean I can't appreciate it. I hate gatekeepers. I would actually probably like doing what John's doing now because it would expand my music knowledge. Like, selective songs. I wouldn't like spending 8 hours in a bar though. So God bless you, John, for still doing it, man.
That is the thing about me and John.
In a juice bar.
No, but me and John, working in the adult industry as far as music's concerned, that is the one thing I do appreciate, that I have been turned on to incredible music that, like you said, moved me. Like, how did I live without this song in my life before?
Isn't that a great feeling when you find something you didn't think would move you and you're like, this is my new, and then you listen to it like 30 times in a row.
Yeah.
I am the king of getting a new song and just playing it nonstop for like a month. And if it's that good of a song, I don't get tired of it.
Exactly. That's how I know it's a good song.
We're on the same page. And it's like, I love, like, that's what I liked when Lemoore started bringing in the hardcore bands like Chromax and bands like that. Because if I was 5 years older or born, the same thing, 5 years older. I mean, I was born younger. Way to go, Chuck. Good at math. I would have been a punk at CBGB's.
Right on.
I just got into, I was just too young to be able to be allowed to do that. But I loved, like, those bands.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Sex Pistols and Ramones, Runaways. I mean, I listened to that shit.
Real quick. Good.
But so I knew I liked the hardcore stuff. But hold on, I got to plug in my phone because I forgot I ended up plugging in. Hold on. Okay. I was down to 5%. That could have been dangerous. You guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So they start booking hardcore bands, and that's when I relied on that guy, Kenny Creedy, who, by the way, he's the one who took over my booking duties after I left. So props to you, Kenny. So Kenny was the one who said, he goes, come pick me up and I'll bring a bunch of albums. Fucking A. So I'm listening. I'm going, I love this shit. Like, I wasn't exposed to that. I wasn't at CBGB's at 6 o'clock. The guys in Nuclear Assault were always telling me to go there. I love it. But after working 3 nights in a row and going out on a Saturday,
right,
last thing I wanted to do was shower at 3 o'clock.
Sunday matinee at CBGB's. That's wrong.
Yeah, and then there was the issue about my car. I had a fucking bright red, fucking brand new Firebird. I'm walking out in front of CBGB's and walking out with long hair.
I hear you.
You kidding me? That car ain't gonna be there. And if it is, it's gonna have fucking social distortion stickers all over it.
Well, you mentioned Ken, and I know he was a source of music to you. That I was asking you earlier about, like, where did you go to get your music? Like, you had friends that sent you music, and of course, I'm sure some of it you loved and some of it you hated. But I guess the word I'm looking for is like, was it like a treasure hunt to you? Like, what's this, what's that?
Well, once it was more like that before I got to Lemoore. Once I got to Lemoore, everybody was sending me shit.
Okay.
And especially once I started getting more known. When I first got to Lemoore, stuff would just go Lemoore, and if it was an album, I got it.
Right.
When my name got out there, and especially when I started doing things like K-Rock and blah, 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 people knew, again, my position, not me, people knew a guy in my position could break a band. Because they saw me help Overkill, saw me help Nuclear Soul, saw me even help White Lion. And now all of those bands deserved what they got. I fucking hate when I see people taking credit for an artist's success. No, what you did, motherfucker, was recognize they deserve to be successful.
Right.
Okay? I didn't play Rotten to the Core because Bobby was my friend. I played Rotten to the Core because it was a brilliant song that I knew could make a Lemoore hit. I didn't know anybody in the fucking Mentors, and I made that Lemoore hit. White Lion deserved what I gave him. Now, to be honest, part of my job was playing White Lion because he owned the club.
Right.
And sometimes I go, I already played 3 songs. That's fucking enough, and hang up. And they yell at me. But I was Chuck Kaye. They ain't firing me. But anybody that people say I'm responsible for, no. I was doing my job. My job was to book good bands. My job was to play good bands. If you were a good band and I did right by you, thank me. That's all you have to do. I didn't break anybody. I helped break people, but it was only because they deserved it.
Right on. You just mentioned also that you were booking bands. What other responsibilities did you have outside of the DJ booth?
Well, what didn't I have? I wasn't a porter. I wasn't a bartender. I definitely wasn't a waitress. Nobody wants to see me in spandex. Everything else I kind of did. I began it just
a shout out to the Lemoore waitresses.
Oh, absolutely.
Really, the coolest chicks on earth. They were all beautiful, sweet. We all fell in love with you girls. You girls.
Hold on. You want to do a shout out to Lemoore waitresses?
Oh, hell
girls, yeah. Come on. Dave wants to say hello to you. I'm kidding. No, the bartender, look, the best way it was put was, and I'm not going to go into the negatives. Somebody took a lot of credit for the club in an article, and Frank Fillais Jr. This actually set off everything in motion. The owner's son goes, you can't talk about the club without mentioning Chuck and other people, and they started talking. It was a team effort, and Frank goes, and the captain of that team was Chuck. And Jimmy Gator went, yes, that's true. That's what started all of this return, and that's the truth. Everybody, like you guys know, you go to my website, which is www. Oh, how many W's is that?
Well, let's talk about that. The website, seriously.
Well, yeah. So the RawLemoore.com. When you're on the website, you see I'm talking about all the owners, the staff, my backup DJs, people before me that I knew. I don't know a lot of the things that happened after me, so I'm not an expert on it. So I don't write about things I don't know, but I try to give credit. I talk about the security, the bouncers. I want people to realize the club was more than me. I'm the avatar for a lot of people. Let me spread the love that I'm getting around, because the bouncers, the bartenders, the waitresses, and obviously the owners. And then recently I talked about the stage managers, the lighting directors, the sound men. All of these people made that club what it was. If I'm the avatar or the captain, guess what a good captain does? He spreads the love and the credit around. And I think that's why the site's working.
So would we call you Captain Stubing?
No, you call me Capo, motherfucker. Aren't you half Italian?
Yeah.
All right, call me Capo.
But I do want to send out some shout outs to old friends too, like Bobby Johnson, Eddie Javaruski, Sandy, the stage manager, because
Sandy's the best.
He had, I mean, we were never tight friends, but I knew his responsibilities, man. Yeah. And I always felt for him, you know what I'm saying?
I want to say something about Sandy. Metallica, Wasp, and Armored Saint played 3 shows. These are 3 headliners. Metallica brought an arena stage setup to them. He handled those 3 shows and the ridiculous amounts of equipment like a pro. It was the greatest job. Rod Smallwood, Iron Maiden's manager and Wasp manager, sat there and went, I can't believe how good things are being run here. And I by the way, I DJ'd those shows because other people said they did. But I DJ'd those shows. I worked closely with the bands. Randy Piper, good friend of mine. It was that was to me when the legend of Lamar really happened. Lamar was successful before me, and it kept going after me.
Right.
But when it became the place was that weekend. We had 3 headliners on one stage, no fights, no arguments, and a packed room. All the bands, Ross was coming up in the booth to hang out with me because I've never seen a place with this vibe before.
Yeah.
That to me is when
I remember
my
that.
personality, my persona, and the club's legend cemented. There were great shows prior. There were great shows after me. That's it. That's when it all came together for me. It was for everybody. Was that 3-night thing, and then we probably hit the zenith when Iron Maiden played on the show with the Harlots.
You know, that's the one show I missed. Damn that.
Well, you know what? What you just said means a lot to me. Not that you missed it, because everybody says that they were there.
Wow.
We would have had to have been in the Meadowlands to fit all the people that say that they were at that show. So you're one of the people who admit they weren't there. But we'll save the stories about that when we do. What we're going to be doing in the future? It's a good time.
Now, let me ask you this real quick, Chuck.
Yeah.
As a DJ, did you ever have any DJs open up for you during your time at Lamar?
Hold on. That's good question, because a few things came to mind. Open up for me, yes and no. When not officially, like guest DJ type stuff, but when I got so busy at the club booking bands and stuff, they weren't paying me to spend a lot of my private time on club stuff. So I was not getting to the club at 3 in the afternoon so I could do phone calls. If I am, you're paying me whatever an hour for that time.
Right.
I still got it done, but I get to the club at 8:30. Club opens at 9. And what would happen would be on a commercial night, Jeff the barback, great guy, loved spinning. I taught him a little stuff. He knew a little bit, queuing and stuff like that. He would do 9 to maybe 10. If it was an empty night, maybe 10:30, because he was the barback. He had nothing to do when the club first opened.
Right.
They didn't run out of ice yet. They didn't run out of liquor. They didn't run out of anything yet. So he was like, I love doing this, man. It'll give me something to do. I go, now I can go into the office. On the thrash metal and the heavy nights, Ken Creedy would do that. I'd pick him up, and he'd sit there and go, here's a new band. I don't know if anybody sent it to you. Awesome. Play a song by them at 9 o'clock while I'm still here. Good. Put that aside. And I go into the office for an hour and a half, and then come out. When Alex was in the club, which was 24/7, he wouldn't open for me. But if I needed to go on stage, or if I needed to run to the front, or if I needed to put out a fire because one of the bands were having issues,
Right.
Alex to the booth. He'd run to the booth. Generous guy. I got him back in the good graces of the club. We were great, and to this day, he's one of my best friends. There's a little confusion who did what, but people there know. So I didn't officially have guest DJs, but I had other people, and Alex says, out of every club he ever worked at, I was the only DJ that took nights off. You know why? Because not just that. I wasn't a DJ. I didn't come up through the ranks of you don't give other people a shot. Dave and I have a mutual friend who is a DJ, and I told Dave this story last week. I knew nothing about DJ equipment. Again, I didn't grow up knowing that stuff. I knew how to turn it on, and the equipment started sounding ratty. So they hired a DJ from New Jersey at this point, who later became like best friends with Dave.
Yeah.
Named Nicky.
Mentors.
And Nicky shows that like, oh, we're gonna have some guy fix the equipment, get to the club like an hour early. Okay, of course I will for something like that. I get there and the guy's like, I'm a DJ. I'm like, whatever, okay. So he goes, so we're hanging out and talking and we're getting along, and he goes, I need to be honest with you. I'm like, yeah. I tried to get your job. I'm like, yeah, you should. And he goes, what? You're not mad? I go, brother, I am in the biggest club doing what I do. Everybody should be shooting for my job.
Right.
I go,
Absolutely.
and here's my feeling on that, John. If somebody's better at me, they deserve it.
Of course.
I can get a job at a secondary club or a third. I could have went to a different club. If somebody is better than me, they deserve it. I never, ever. I would have gave the guys from Old Bridge Militia like a night, making an Old Bridge Militia like you DJ. I'll work the fucking door. I'm happy doing it. If I might not have been that way, if I wasn't as confident in myself, or if I worked at a different club, if you can take the job at Lemoore away from me, you deserve to be there because it was the pinnacle of what we were doing. So I was fine with DJs doing it. If a DJ came up to me and goes, "Man, you were great. Can I work an hour for you?" I'd probably let him. But nobody ever did. So, but I gave people those things because they were friends of mine. I was cool. And because Alex was so great about filling in, like if I needed him, I gave him nights. And what that did, they gave me a chance to hang out with my girl or go see a band that was in town that might have been playing I was friends with, that I couldn't see, or just sit at home.
Exactly.
I mean, I was always good about that. But nobody, I never had like, hey, tonight, guest DJ type of thing. It was always 3 or 4 people that were my backups. I had, on nights that I ran the club, Dave Gizzo was my DJ from WSOU. Because I was at the front door and doing stuff like that. So I think that answers the question.
Too.
What?
Dave had a good following. I mean, he was a popular DJ on SOU.
Yeah, Dave, I think might have won the position if he wanted it. When they did that 4 or 5 DJ thing, but he didn't. He was kind of falling out of the scene, and he had a real job at this point. And I think he was like, I'm just going to go see bands so I can go home. I get it.
I understand. So let's talk real quick about the future. Our kind of future plans here. We're hoping to bring more stories from you to Fatty's Funhouse NJ and 2mics 2djs. How you feel about this? Is this something that you're dreading and letting all your deep dark secrets out, or?
No, I mean they're out. I was dreading the idea of doing this until you made me comfortable about doing it. And I talked to John privately and I told him, I said, let's do 1 episode. If it seems like it'll work, we'll do more. I go, that's how I feel. And it seems like it's working. So I'm down, man. I'm good. And then John scared the fuck out of me and he goes, I'm balls deep into this shit.
I had balls deep.
Yeah, I don't know how deep his balls could go, and I hope I never find out. But it sounded like a compliment, and it sounded like a commitment to me, man. But no. So I mean, unless I'm mistaken, I'm going to do some regular or semi-regular because of my health. We'll do like a story here and there, and then I'll try to get us some cool guests, and I'll come on and share it with them.
I just wanted to conclude about Freddie Gore-Howe. So now he's doing a Bon Jovi tribute band with Steve Brown from Trickster.
Steve Brown was one of the first people who reached out to me when I came back on. See if Dave knows this. Why is Trickster part of my law?
Oh, man. Actually, you caught me unprepared. I don't know it.
They're the winner of my first Battle of the Bands.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Trickster played the first official, not the first Lemoore Battle of the Bands. That was Carnivore that actually won that.
Oh, okay.
That was before I got there. I mean, I was there, but I wasn't working there. And when I took over Thursdays, I was like, all right, let me just do a gimmick. So WSOU was basically, doing whatever I wanted. And I don't mean that in a bad way. They wanted the Lemoore rub, and they were smart because we helped break WSOU. Yes. I don't care what anybody says. I was there. Gizzo walked up to the booth, introduced himself, and go, I'm the new whatever guy at WSU. And I go, what's WSU? And he goes, exactly. No. It was true. It was like they just
one time we went up there for one of your interviews.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was on there like fucking almost weekly at a period of time. So, and he was like, I want you to be a guest. I heard you on K-Rock, man. You're like one of the best guests I ever had. And I was like, all right. And then he was just so honest about using me to help break the station. And I don't mean using me in a bad way. I mean in a practical way. I was like, let's do it. I go, I'll have you introduce some bands. And I told the club, I said, listen. And he goes, is this going to cost us any money? I said, no. I said, I got it. Trust me. I go, if I'm giving the mic to somebody, trust me. And they did. And to their credit, they did what Mike Tramp told them they should do. They gave me the keys to the Lamore car. I thought I was getting a caddy. I still never got one.
Still never got your caddy, right?
Yeah. But yeah, no. So, when people talk about forgotten heroes on the metal scene, Gizzo's one.
Definitely.
Yeah. So back to John. I think Freddie Gorhow is paying John for all these fucking plugs.
No, he's not actually.
Hey, Freddie, how about this? How about you go to my fucking website and donate to me, you fuck?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Making it.
Yeah,
now.
but no. I wish I knew. I have connections in AC. I'd love for them to play here, but AC is a weird town. Like there's unions and everything. It's not like, hey man, here's my friend's band. It's like this day and age. It's there's so many things they got to be with this agency because this agency and this and this. But yeah, no, Fred's in the band with Steve, and you know who the drummer is in that band?
Actually, no, I don't.
The new drummer in Twisted Sister.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, he was in I forgot the name of the band, but he was in some other stuff, and he's who's replacing Joe Franco, who replaced the Portnoy, who replaced AJ. Yeah. So there's a lot of good talent in that Bon Jovi band.
Right on.
Oh, no doubt about it. And they have a female backup singer as well.
Oh my God, she's gorgeous.
She's absolutely breathtaking, beautiful.
You know what's funny? I was going to say that, but I don't know if she's dating Steve or not. So now you look like the pervert. So that's cool. Hold on, Steve, if you're dating her, she seems like a wonderful girl with a great smile. I'll let John talk about her butt.
That I won't do, but actually her and I were talking dogs at one point, like a couple weeks back. She had just gotten a dog that looks like a Morkie, and I happen to have a Morkie. And that's how that all came about. But
John, nobody could tell a story like you, buddy. Let me tell you.
I'll end it like that.
Thank God for that. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward.
Big man.
I'm looking forward to doing more things in the future, man. Hey, look, the wild card. There was 2 wild cards. Wild card was me and John because we didn't really know each other, and I didn't want to get to know him too much before this because you guys know from our talks, I wanted to keep it fresh and spontaneous. And the other wild card was how long it'll take Dave to annoy the fuck out of me.
Okay, did that happen?
And you haven't.
I lasted about an hour and a half, 2 hours, huh?
Yeah, we should call this soon before it gets annoying.
Yeah, actually, we're at $1.50 right now.
So, Chuck, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. We're looking forward to seeing you again in the future. John?
Chuck, it's been a pleasure, man. Can't wait to do this again. Weekend.
Now, is it my turn to kiss your ass? Is this how we're working it?
Just on the left cheek.
Wait a minute, the cheek with the ass hair? Or is that the one that doesn't have the ass hair?
That's a good
You
question.
don't know your right from your left, Vincent? Now, guys, I enjoyed this. I appreciate it. I appreciate the hype you're trying to bring to what I'm doing. Anybody wants to see some stories in advance or just learn more about me in the club, www.therawlamore.com. If you think what we did tonight was fun, there's a donation area. If you think I'm a jerk off, there's still a donation area. You can buy my silence. I'll tell you what, if you ever want me to do this show again, $1,000. I will sell these motherfuckers down the river for $1,000. How's that?
$1,000 to keep quiet. That way they can pay you
No,
off.
I'm not going to keep quiet. I'm just not going to talk to you guys. There is not a man rich enough to shut off this fucking mic.
That's fucking great.
All right, Chuck. Well, thanks again, man. Looking forward to everything.
You got it, brother. And John, pleasure meeting you officially. And Dave, you're a lot less annoying than you were in 1986 when you did the chicken dance. I'm going to leave it at that.
I'm a dancing fool.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Chuck.